Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Yeah, the old clock says it's 5 o'clock. Beer 30. Let's go see what's in the fridge today.
Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Greg's Beer Reviews today. I appreciate it. Today's beer comes from Southern Star Brewing. These guys are down in Texas. This is their Black Crack 2017 edition, according to the very faint ink on the bottom of this can. Guys, I reviewed this almost 2 years ago, back in May of 2016. Thought it was a fairly impressive beer at the time. These guys are lacking on putting the ABV on their can. They're doing these things multiple times, and it seems to me like they need to put that ABV on there, because more than likely it's changing from year to year. Uh, the one I had back in 2016, I believe, was an 11%er. I don't know where I got that information from, unless Brandon C. told me that's what it was. He didn't send any notes or anything with this one. And I can't find it on the can anywhere. It does have a date on the bottom of November something of 2017. And Beer Advocate doesn't even have the bourbon barrel aged version of it listed. They just have the plain Jane listed, and it's only an 8.2% Imperial Stout. This is the bourbon barrel version, and it's a little bit bigger than that. And I have to go by what Untapped has, and they don't have the 2017 listed either. The newest one I could find was 2016, and they're saying it's 10%. So I don't have any idea, guys, what the 2017 edition is. They need to put that on the can somewhere, and that's probably going to cost them a grade point. I want to know when the damn beer was put in the damn can. Is that so hard? Is that such an unreasonable thing to ask? I mean, you're brewing this multiple times, and it's probably changing ABV from batch to batch, from year to year, and we have no idea. So that's a lot of the breweries are that way, and I call them out on the carpet every time they do this silly stuff. Uh, it needs to be on the can. What am I drinking? Is it a 10%? Is it 11%? And the ink is so faded. I had to put my glasses on to see the date. That's how faded it was on the bottom of the can. So they need to increase the ink, or change the ink head or something, so you can see that fairly visible on there. It is there, but it is so faint I couldn't see it without putting my glasses on. So, and I thought this was a fairly impressive beer the last time I had it. Let's see if I still find it that impressive. He did not tell me what he paid for this. I'm sure it's not a cheap beer to buy, being a bourbon barrel aged version. So let's get on with it. Untapped has this as like I said, 10% with no IBUs listed, but it's the 2016 edition. This is the 2017. I don't know what this is. And their commercial description says bourbon barrel aged buried hatchet, and that's what they do. They're buried hatchet. They put it in bourbon barrels, and that's what becomes black crack. So black crack. That sounds to me like you've got some kind of African American plumber in your house and you're staring at him working on your sink or your toilet or whatever. Black crack. Oh yeah. And I don't mean that to be derogatory or racist or anything like that. That's when I see that black crack. That's what I'm thinking about. I got the brother in here working on your plumbing. So, guys, that's all we're going to talk about here. I've covered everything that I think we need to cover on it, and I fussed all I need to fuss about this beer. These guys, if I seen this on the shelf and I picked it up and it didn't have an ABV on it, I would probably not buy it because I want to know whether I'm getting a 8% or an 11%. So it does have a date on it, and like I said, if I was in the beer store, I don't carry my glasses with me, and if I couldn't read the date on the bottom of the can, that'd be the second reason why I would not pick it up, not being able to read that. So it's got a couple of faults right off the bat, but like I said, when I did it back in 2016, I thought it was a very impressive beer. I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. So we'll see if it gets that big of a grade now. So let's get on with it. I've got everything covered here, so let's pop the top on this one. Final beer of the evening for me. So into the glass we go, and while I pour this, I will tell you, I'm going to go down the center on this one, guys. Food pairings of cheese, buttery Gouda, Havarti Swiss, General Chocolate, digestive, meat, smoked meat, game, and grilled meat. Glassware to pint Beckernolic tumbler snifter, oversized wine glass. I got my favorite tulip glass here today, guys, and not recommended for stilling cellars, or you could. Let me pull this up. Yeah, it says here you can cellar it if you want to. It's an imperial, and I don't see anything about any coffee being used in the brewing process. That's bourbon barrel on top of that, so not much of a head. Over to the light, it is pretty dark, guys. Not much light coming through. Maybe a slight hint of some red rubiness under the thin on the part of the glass here. To the nose we go. Guys, I'm not getting much bourbon on this. I don't know how long they left it in the bourbon barrels. Rich roasted malt, maybe a hint of some caramel toffee and black molasses. I'm not even getting any kind of bittersweet chocolate or anything on the nose. Mainly roasted malt. A little disappointing on the aroma. Let's dive in and see what we got. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Brandon. Boy, if they put it in bourbon barrels, they didn't leave it very long. And if they did, it's not first run bourbon barrels. It's had beer in it before. I mean, if you didn't tell me this was a bourbon barrel, I'm not getting it, guys. I'm not getting hardly any bourbon at all. Very disappointing. Wow. That tastes, to be honest with you guys, I don't see a whole lot of difference between this and an old Rasputin. It is smooth drinking. I am not getting any of the alcohol, depending on whatever the ABV is. We don't know whether it's a 10 or 11%. The 2016 was a 10. And I remember the one I did back in 2016, unless it was a 2015, I thought that Brandon had told me it was an 11%er, but I'm not sure, guys. I don't remember, and I don't have those notes anymore. So I'm not sure what the ABV is or the IBUs. I just know under the bottom of it, it does say it was canned in November of 2017. So let me do the back end pour on this. Pretty sure it's not going to get the grade it did last time. This is not as impressive as it was to me the first time I had it. So, Brandon, I'm sorry, but the bourbon notes are not there. I don't know what the ABV is. The IBUs are not critical on this style of beer. But it leaves a little bit to be desired. Maybe some of the bourbon notes will come out. Kind of doubt it. But we're going to sip on it for a little bit and see what we end up with. I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. Left a nice lacing, not huge, but left lacing on the glass here, guys. Very disappointed with this edition of it. The bourbon notes are not even there at all. I'm not getting anything at all. Been sipping on it about 30 minutes. Very disappointing to me. Not as impressed as I was with one. Maybe I got a bad batch or a bad can or whatever the case may be. I don't know what the ABV is on this since they didn't put it on the can. I couldn't find a 2017 edition listed on Untappd. They have a 2016. Somebody may find it and say, oh, here it is, and post it. Don't know what the ABV is. Don't know what the IBUs is. Could barely read the date on the bottom of the can. If I hadn't had my glasses, I would not have been able to see what it was. It is so faint. I didn't think there was anything there at first. When I looked at it, I'm going, something is on there. So I put my glasses on and I was able to see it. I would not buy this beer if it was available here, especially with what I'm having here. I was a whole lot more impressed with the 2016 version that I had back then. So I don't know if it was a 2015 that I done then, or it was actually a 2016 that Brandon had sent me. This is not getting it, especially for something that's got bourbon barrel age written on the front of the can. Maybe they use the same barrels they did then. I don't have any idea, guys. The bourbon notes are not there. I don't know how long they left it in it or whether it was a first run bourbon barrel. Very unimpressive to me. I'm sure this was not a cheap beer to buy. Brandon, I am sorry, my brother. This is not doing it this time. I'm not getting any notes of the bourbon whatsoever on the nose or the taste. Tastes like a plain Jane Imperial Stout to me. It does have a nice sweetness to the back end, almost like it's had lactose. I don't see that being used in the brewing process. Very easy drinking for whatever the ABV is. But when I see something that says bourbon barrel aged on it, I expect to taste that. I expect to be able to smell it, and I expect to be able to taste it. And I'm not getting it on this one. Final chug. The only positive thing that I can say about it is a very easy drinking for whatever the ABV is. We don't know. Other than that, the bourbon notes are not there, guys. If you're expecting big bourbon notes, you're going to be very disappointed, as I was, or I am. This is definitely something I would not purchase. When I had it the first time, yeah, I was impressed. I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. It is nowhere near that now, guys. This is not even an A beer as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to give this beer, and I'm probably go against the grade on this one because the first one I had was fairly impressive, and this one is very unimpressive. I'm going to give this a B. I'm going to give this a B, guys. 85, right down the middle of the B scale. Over to Beer Advocate, and like I said, Beer Advocate has it listed as an 8.25. Maybe that's what I'm drinking. I don't have any idea what the ABV is on this beer since they don't put it on the can. And they have it at 4.11. Not going there. And over to Untappd, they have it listed as a 10%. And they have it at 4.01, which is barely into their A- range. Not going there. If you're going to put bourbon barrel aged on the front of your can, I expect to be able to taste that. And if I don't, that costs. If you don't put an ABV on your can, that costs you. So there's 2 strikes there. Other than and the date on the bottom of the can is almost a strike 3. I had to put my glasses on to be able to read it. I don't want to have to do that if I'm in a beer store trying to figure out what I am buying. So that's 2.5 strikes. I was able to determine what it was by putting my glasses on. So not impressive at all to me. Not as impressive as it was the first one. Like I said, maybe it's a bad batch, bad can, or whatever it may be. I'm grading on what I am drinking here today in front of me. it's a B beer. That's what I'm going to give it. 85, right down the middle of the B range. So if you've had the, and this is a 2017. I couldn't find that listed on Untapped, and Beer Advocate don't even differentiate between years. They just throw them all in the same category. So if you've had the 2017, let me know what you think, guys. Until we meet again, let's go see what's in the fridge.